at least at this point. So I'm recording now. So this is something that I will stop in a second just to see what your reactions are regarding this pod, because also I cannot see this chat or anything while I'm presenting. You know what? We're going to stop here, and I'll continue presenting in a second. So I just want to see if there are any questions. If you want to raise your hands or send me a chat if you want to say something. I would like to hear your ideas about the USA pod. So I can be very blunt and unmute you, and you can mute yourselves, or you can raise your hand if you want to, and just let me know if you have, what I suggest is that at some point the community will need to take this decision and have some type of discussion. Still, we're a small community at this point, so we can easily add, for example, the short term for USA and decide together with the community whether you want renewals or not. And also there are other developments coming up, new functionality regarding renewals, and I'm pretty sure that this conversation will need to happen as well in this sense. So I'll go back to sharing, and if later, if someone wants to write on the chat or the Q&A, I also need to check the Q&A. We can discuss this further. So I'm going to share again my screen, and we'll continue this. Okay, I hope you got the opportunity to, let's talk a little bit about the Ex Libris Resource Sharing Directory. So last week I gave an open webinar to, well, this is also an open webinar, but the invitation was sent to the whole ALMA community to talk a little bit about the Ex Libris Resource Sharing Directory. I just want to make sure that at least those of you that are here, you know that Rapido customers don't need to opt into the directory. By being a Rapido customer, you're already in the directory. I'm saying this because I saw some questions coming from Rapido members. So Rapido does not need to opt into the directory. We'll talk about something else that I would like to ask you and to have in your minds. But we did this session, and the session is recorded, and of course, what we would like you to do is to promote this with your communities. I know that we've done this in the California area. I think it was very successful, and probably we'll have more talks about this in the future with them. So if there's a community, a regional group where you see that it might be worth to have a little meeting with a group of people that you work with, I'm of course willing to attend those meetings and facilitate this type of conversation. And really, we're seeing people starting to add themselves to the directory. And as I've said many times before, I think that if you also talk to your networks, it will be more efficient. Lastly, on this part, I hope you also the announcement on the Rapido working group. It is really, really exciting. I took a portion of the email that was sent in various channels, and this is the portion of how to get in touch, and from depending on which region you are. So you have here the information. Whom you should contact. I'll be really, really happy to see you guys in this format. I know it will enable us to continue working on shaping how Rapido looks, and of course we're now also including standard processes such as NERS and other things that are included in the work that the working group does. So it's an open invitation. And I want to thank Greg, also Alex, but Greg, who has been also a development partner and is also helping create this group. Okay, so a little bit more about the resource sharing directory. I just placed here the links of one is a recording that shows very concisely how to add yourselves to the directory, and that you can find in Knowledge Center under this link, and the YouTube of the webinar that we did last week, in case you missed it or you want to forward this to your communities, to your networks. What I wanted to talk today about is something that's coming actually not in our next release, the April release, but something that is coming out on the May release. But I already want you to have this in your mind so that once it's out there, you know what we were talking about. So we've added to the May release, time flies, so you'll see it pretty soon. Under the configuration, there is an option under general and general configuration. So configuration, general configuration. There's an entry called data sharing profile. And under that entry, you have some options of text where you agreements on sharing information. And what we're adding on the May release is an agreement to share information regarding the holdings in your institution. And again, I want to make sure that it is clear that it doesn't contain any type of personal data, and it's just enabling when we have the functionality that we're planning and many other things that might come up in the roadmap. The idea is that by clicking here, yes, you are allowing us through via Rapido or Alma, depending on what we're doing, to show holdings information, showing who holds what, okay? In general, I'll say holdings information and availability and requestability. Nothing is gonna change in May. Again, the idea here is to, if and when we add the functionality, things that already resource sharing librarians are doing, but are needing to go outside of the system to see who holds something that they might be interested in getting. So know that this is coming. I will, of course, encourage everyone in Rapido, because the community that is in Rapido understands the value of community work. The pod is already a community vision and focus. So again, the idea here is that I do expect from the Rapido community to click yes. And of course, I believe that the Alma, the other non-Rapido Almas will also cooperate. But I did want to let you know this beforehand and have it very clear in your minds, and maybe at the end of this session we can also talk about this. So this is before we go into the April release, so I'm going to stop for a second because maybe there's some questions here on this area. So again, I think you have the option to raise your hands if you want to ask a question instead of me unmuting all of you by surprise. So if you feel that you have a question about the things that I presented now, I'll be happy to answer now, or we can leave it to the end. Or you can write me on the chat. Okay, I see no questions for now, so I'm moving forward with my presentation. Okay, so let's talk about April release. Okay, in the area of staff efficiencies, we have a very important development. This development is aimed, first of all, so I get your concentration. For those of you that do not have multiple resource sharing libraries, I'm happy to tell you that this development is irrelevant, so you don't have to learn about it. But for those institutions that have multiple resource sharing libraries, where your users are not assigned to a specific resource sharing library. So there might be no value in the resource sharing library of the patron, or it has multiple, or it's set to all. So this is for this type of institutions. We have a few of this type. And the idea is that since various resource sharing libraries are actually serving the patrons, and this is in multiple locations, the idea is that we want the, from the borrowing side, again, this is from the borrowing side, to allow the resource sharing library that is closest to the pickup location to be to handle the borrowing request, and this can make the whole process more efficient. I will give a particular example in a second, but in order to start performing this association of a pickup library to a resource sharing member, we've added a new option under the resource sharing configuration, associate pickup location with resource sharing member. So this is a new entry in our menu. And it's very simple. The idea is that this is the drop down of in my institution, existing pickup location. So you can see it here. And I select a pickup location if I want to. And then I can select a resource sharing member to associate with that pickup location. Again, this is for users that are associated with more than one resource sharing library. If the user is associated to a particular resource sharing library, that particular resource sharing member will continue to be the one that is dealing with the particular borrowing request created for that specific user. So I'm going to go and just explain the story behind this new configuration. And again, all of you that don't have multiple resource sharing libraries, or have specific resource sharing libraries for patrons, you don't need this development. The story behind this development is, for example, let's say I'm going to take this very particular example, where all of my users are served by all of the resource sharing members, and I have all of the pickup locations are available for me. But let's say that, for example, my education library is closer to my resource sharing member that is called, I don't know, ILL, okay, for example. So, and I have other resource sharing members. So the idea is that if I select as a user to pick up my resource at the education library, it's going to be better that the borrowing request is created on the resource sharing member that is closest to the pickup location. What happened before this development is that we picked randomly a resource sharing member. And this, of course, had a big impact on efficiencies. Again, this is development. It's an important development for those that have multiple resource sharing libraries. And again, I want to thank our community, because this was done together with them, feedback and the thinking of how this should be done. Okay. At the end of this section, I will stop for questions. Okay, another thing that was kind of missing or wasn't working well is the quick printing for ship, receive, and return actions, each on their specific either borrowing or lending. And this has been corrected. And I know this is a function that is used a lot by you, but many institutions. So you have this already corrected in this release. All right. Okay, testing and training. Okay, this is the biggest testing and training version of Rapido. It actually completes a series of developments that we started and we planned for a few months. As you can imagine, it is very difficult to test or train your own stuff with Rapido, not because of Rapido, but because of testing and training with a resource sharing system is a little bit complicated because you need two sites in order to be able to do a complete test or to do some of the things that you wanted. What I want to do today with you is actually give you the whole set of tools that you will have available from April. So there are three basic options. We're adding two new ones to the April one, but still in this webinar, I want to cover the complete set of the complete toolbox that you have for both, either for testing in various ways, or if you decide for training your staff on Rapido. Okay, and this is mostly for live customers. Customers in implementation, of course, are testing the system in implementation mode, but customers in production and the Rapido, the testing, the first option that we had, and it was released a few months ago, I don't remember exactly, is testing with the Rapido sandbox. So it says here from this release, but it was actually a previous release. You could use the sandbox. You can use the sandbox functionality for testing, and this is what you can do. So you can do on your sandbox, creating and using Rapido sets, using the boring and lending tastics, everything that is kind of solo, the solo parts of the system. All of this can be done. This is the list. By the way, it's on the documentation. So no worries if I don't read the whole list now. You don't have to take screen captures or anything. This table is in the Knowledge Center. There's a section, a specific section for testing and training. What you couldn't do in the sandbox, you cannot do still on the sandbox, is testing an end-to-end Rapido workflow. So things wouldn't go out of the sandbox and sent to a partner. You can see here that you can still do something that was always possible to do, which is creating peer-to-peer partners and testing between sandboxes, but this doesn't really always helps on the testing because sometimes you wanted to test with someone that has Rapido. In the sandbox, you still can create borrowing requests, but they're not sent. So the testing is limited to the creation. And I mentioned here, this includes the fill locally option, which is the action of actually the institution fulfilling the request with its own materials or received not by a partner and held somewhere. And for those of you that are still very new or don't know the fill locally action, there's a little video on the Knowledge Center that explains this, and probably in another webinar we will go back to it and cover it again. Okay, so now to the new features that we have. And the first one is very good news, the idea of testing and or training. Again, this can be two-folded. The complete flow, the complete flow, see how the borrowing side looks, how the lending side looks. Now, this is not testing with a partner. This is actually testing with yourself and taking a look of how, for example, a request is created, what is how the data looks, sending a cancellation, different options. I'll try to show you a little bit of what we can do. And at the same time, also taking a look on how, from the lending perspective, this same thing will look. And again, this is a kind of, I don't know how to call it, a bubble test. Okay, so you're not needing to contact other institutions for doing this test. You're doing this all by yourselves internally. So it's a good tool. This is why we believe it's not only for testing, but it's a good tool for training. Okay. So how do we enable this? We enable this, it's a little bit strange, but it's through a mediation rule. So the idea is that we have a new parameter that is going to be used for a particular mediation rule. So you can see here, what I did is I created a mediation rule called for testing purposes. And the only parameter that I added here is requester equals, and works only with the equals. By the way, you might see other Boolean operators that this works only with the equal. We'll remove the other ones in a version soon, but it's only for one requester. And what you add here, actually, if I open up the 3 dots, is a user. So I'm here, I've selected a user. I'll explain what it means selecting a user. This is the user that is going to be doing the testing, because when this user will access Primo, the Primo VE and the search, and will look for offers, the system will behave differently. So in this case, I suppose that in your own site, you have your users. You will select one user that is going to do this test. I have added a label, which means you can also, you'll see later how requests are created. And also a new action, test locally. So remember, I think, I don't remember how many versions ago, we added the possibility to add an action. At the time, we had only the field locally for the purposes of document delivery for materials that your institution has. And now we have a new option. So when you open that dropdown, you'll see field locally and test locally. For testing purposes, you should select test locally, not field locally. Okay, I know this is a bit complicated, so I'm going to, at some point, I'm going to stop and see that there are no questions. Okay, so new mediation rule, everything's documented, so you can take a look later. And what happens? So remember, this is my requester. I have set this to test locally, and I've even included a label. So I'm here logged in Primo, and this is me again. This is me for sure. This is the book I want. I click get it for me, and I get an offer. The nice thing about this is I'm just seeing the system as it's working. So you can see here, if for those of you that are very acquainted with Rapido, you can see here that we found in one of our pods a lender, and I have here the terms for this resource to get to me. And I even know that it hasn't found a partner in Rapid for document delivery, because else I would have here the 24 hours. But still, of course, I can place the order. It doesn't mean anything. And I'm going to place the request. Okay, so I placed the request, and I want to show you now. I did this today earlier. I want to go to the system and show you what happened after I placed the request. So if I was, before I go to Rapido, if I was a different user, not the staff that I showed you, staff ex libris, when I place this offer for real will go outside and will go to the partner where we know there is requestability and availability. Okay, but because of this mediation rule, the system is going to behave differently. So let me just bring us to Rapido. Okay, and today I also created a set. My testing requests today, I have two. Tried it twice, but didn't do anything. Okay, so this is the example I showed you before. You can see the label was successfully added. The partner is my institution. This is your institution, which is my same institution. And what I can do from here is, check just take a look how things are created, and I can play with some of the options here that I want, cancel, whatever. I can edit the request. I can just use the system, you know, I can try to do things with the system. But I want to show you that this wasn't only created on my site, which is the usual thing. It was actually not sent, it was sent to myself. This is what you see here, kind of very similar like the fill locally option. If I go to the landing side now, and I look at today from the landing perspective, okay, this is the other one. You can see I have it here as well. You can see here, I just want to point here about the locate fail. So in my particular Primo, I have DLRs where I don't permit to create resource sharing requests for things that are available at my institution. So I really wanted to test things with offers and things that are coming from pods. So this is my test. So of course, this book that gave me an offer doesn't really exist here in my library. If I had if I leave the DLR, but this will have an impact on other users. That's why I don't think any of you are going to use it in this way. If I had the DLR enabling resources available for me, I could actually do something very similar to fulfill locally for physical, and the locate wouldn't fail here. So what is the idea behind this locate? First of all, it's true, locate fail, completely right. I don't have this here. What are the things that I can do here for my testing? I can do everything, you know, I can do send a general message and see how it is received. I can do reject, etc. If you want to try to do the ship item physically, my suggestion is do it. Just change it to an existing barcode. Look for a barcode that exists in your library or that you use for testing or something, and then you can see that really the other side will receive it, etc. So what I really want to clarify here is that the locate failed here is because we're testing in the same environment. So this is the only thing that will look a little bit weird in terms of this complete testing, but still you can use and do all of the actions, I think that most of all of the actions that you would like to see, like sending letters, etc. Checking how it looks from here, from there, etc. So this is the development. It's a little bit complicated, so I'm going to stop sharing and see if there are questions here. Lori, you're asking if this is in Rapido only or in ALMA in general. All of what I'm showing now today, it's almost everything is only Rapido. And thank you for jumping and asking questions. Okay, another question. I see, Lori, it was the associate member with a library. That also everything, Lori, can I unmute you for a second? I hope it's fine with you. I think it's going to be easier. Let's see if I can manage to unmute. I'm going to try without unmuting everyone. And if I can't, no, I can't. So sorry, guys. Excuse me, but no, I want you to ask Lori. I'm going to, you got it. Okay, you got it. I really hate that we cannot talk in this medium. Okay. More questions. Send me a chat, and if there's, you know, at the end of this, at the end of my slides, I will unmute you all and you can mute yourselves, but if someone wants to talk, I will let you talk. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the presentation and complete the complete our tools for testing. So let me just share it with you again. So we're only missing one, and if I could let you talk, I would ask you guys to tell me what we're missing. Okay, no, just kidding. Okay. Okay, so what are we missing? Okay, so we went through what are our sandbox options. You saw many of those. And you saw also a complete workflow with myself and with my own institution. And now what we're going to see, which is a very important one, is ability to manually assign a partner. We've heard this a lot. So let's say there are two Rapido partners. They still want to do some testing between themselves. They don't want to, of course, the way the pods work is that we do load balancing and we search for a suitable resource between that network, but the system is doing all of this behind the scenes. So how can you test with a Rapido partner? Peer-to-peer is kind of easier because you can set up the peer-to-peer and you could set up the peer-to-peer and test, but testing with a particular partner, sometimes I saw things by the community that were incredible. Like, we only know that St. Thomas has this book, no one else in the pod has it. So the test was kind of trying to see who has a resource that is totally unique in order to be able to test. Okay, so what we did with this release is we added from the creation of the request. So you would come here, in this case, you would create the request from the back office. We've added this new option, send directly to partner. And when you click in that option, it is the resource sharing partner list, and a change in this in the functionality is that whenever you open resource sharing partners list, you wouldn't see the Rapido partners. From this release, you are going to see the Rapido partners as well. And of course, you can select the Rapido partner that you are testing with. Actually, this gives, I think, a complete solution to many of the questions that we were asked at some point about testing, training. I think now you have a complete box of tools that will enable you to do this in an easier way. Okay, I see time is running, so I'm going to move forward. A little bit about analytics, developments in analytics. And this is a very important development. It's in addition to the subject area of the borrowing, called is field. This is the name of the field. And the idea behind it is, again, success. So you are providing a service, a resource sharing service, and you want to check whether the service is being effective for your users. This is what this field does. And of course I will explain it, but of course you can combine it with other fields. So you can do it by date or other type of combinations that you want, but I want to explain the logic of the field. So the first result, this number of requests that you see here, and I haven't filtered even by date, I believe, I don't know, says 0. So we have, no, sorry, this number, I want you to look at this number, the number of requests that is in progress, meaning they are still, the lending library will deliver them, they're active borrowing requests, so they're not in an end status, they're still being processed, and thus you need to remove them from your count of whether they were successfully filled or not, because they're still in work, okay? Now, the next one, the no, is the ones that actually, for some reason, were not fulfilled. So here really is where you want to check what happened. So the way we calculate this is that there is no arrival date. It's a complicated algorithm behind the scenes, because what we are also including here is, for example, if it was rejected by the staff or rejected by the lender and it didn't found another lender, etc., canceled by the staff. So all of this is documented, but the idea is that behind the no, there is beyond, it's really that no one fulfilled it, but it's not because the patron decided to cancel it. It's because it wasn't completed, because maybe there was no lender at all that could supply it, etc. The not applicable is where really we don't think that behind the scenes, behind the borrowing request, there is a reason to include it in your success factor. So, for example, the item is the patron is not interested. It's canceled by the patron. You converted it to a purchase request. It's a duplicate request. So all of these factors, and again, all of this is documented, really is, we want you to know how many like this you have, so you still can see what you have. But still, we don't think it's a matter of succeeding or not with the service you're providing. And the yes, of course, is yes. So the borrowing request has arrived and has an arrival date, and all is nice. And even though this is a demo, I am really happy to see that the great majority of my borrowing requests have been filled. Okay, so very important addition to measure your success with Rapido. And in terms, as always, a lot of focus on the Rapido ecosystem. So I want to show you some developments that you will be receiving with this April release. And the first one is something long-awaited by those of you that wanted it. So it's now possible to, in the same way that you could, if you were having, you still have Iliad to have a last resort type of integration with Tipasa now, or with Walsher, whatever you're using. So it's now possible that you can set a partner for these specific systems, like you could do it with Iliad, and all of the information is in the Knowledge Center. But the idea is, if not found on your pods, on your locally managed pods by any partner, you could have the system push this. You can have the system push the request to Walsher and Tipasa, or Tipasa. In the case of Tipasa, happily, they do have NCIP update. So it's good. All the time, the information will be updated. This is actually something good. Walsher does not support NCIP, so the borrowing request goes to Walsher. You will need to follow up there, but at least there is the possibility to push it. We will continue to work with any system that wants to work with us and enable a further integration. But I know that the community, at least for this, they were, some of our institutions were waiting for this integration. Another related development that we did with this version is the flexibility in matching between, this is actually something that it's both for Alma and for Rapido, between the Alma's IDs, so it's also for Rapido resource sharing, and the Iliad's IDs. And the idea, I will give you the specific story behind the case is, for example, that the ID in Alma is the email of your patron, but the ID in Iliad that you're matching with is only the beginning of the patron's email up until the student, like in this case. So really, it was impossible to match both in order to have the systems be synchronized. And what we added here is the possibility to use a regular expression. In this case, the example I'm showing you is for an email where behind this, in Alma, behind this ID, there's an email, a complete email. But when we go out to Iliad to match, the match will take only the text up until the strudel by using this syntax, which is a simple regular expression way of doing it. I don't know if I know there's some here that have this case. So for those, I'm using the very specific example of the email, but in general terms, you could use any type of regex that you wanted to use in case the ID was in some way, I don't know, included in parts of the string in the ID. Okay, I want to stop here and stop sharing and go back to you. Thank you, Becky. You're asking if the Rapido information in the sandbox will be updated only with the release, or will it be updated, say, monthly for testing? So I think it's, sorry, I'm not an expert with, no, yes, it's with the release. Like you'll have the once the release is placed, your sandbox will be updated as well with the features of the release, and you can test them. I think this is how it works. It should work like with Alma, okay? It's the same workflow. I'm really not good in defining, you know, like, and differences between premium and non-premium, so I don't want to be mistaken here. But it's you will get let's say there was let's say a new option to do something with the sets. The quick printing is a good idea, a good example. The quick printing, if this is already on your sandbox, the release has been placed on the sandboxes, you can definitely test that in your sandbox. I hope I've answered you, Becky. Okay. So, and there are really differences between the, if it's your data, not your data, etc. So this is where I'm less acquainted, and I don't want to confuse you. Okay, guys, any other question regarding the April release? Something I have a little topic. I just saw someone asked it. I know there are many people here that have been with us for a long time and probably saw this in another presentation. So I have a little topic for today to show you. I do want to remind you, maybe the USA pod members now. I know the Canada team is working. Our Canada customers are working in order to settle the terms for the Canadian pod. If the USA teams want to organize something between you guys, the idea is that we can do whatever you want. I know there is a desire to add a short term. So think about this. I don't want to forget this before we finish this presentation. Okay, so my little topic for today, maybe not little for people that haven't seen this before, so still wanted to share. So how to view requests that are being worked by a particular staff member. So I want to remind you or introduce you the assign to option. So you have this option both in lending and in borrowing requests, and you have the options to assign to. And the idea is that this window opens up. Here I'm adding Benjamin. I'm assigning this to Benjamin, to myself, and you can see that the request is immediately added with this very clear indication. And this is really something very clear you see in the task list. So everyone sees all of the requests. This is something that's very different than in ALMA. Everyone sees all of the requests, but they have a clear indication of whom they are assigned to. And of course, all of the possibilities of faceting, creating sets, etc. All of these options exist for this. So you could work on the things that are assigned to you, create sets for them, or whatever type of work you want to do here. So a little reminder of things that already exist in the system, and wanted just to kind of give it for our new members again. Okay, this was my last slide, and it gives us a few minutes to just see if there are more questions. So I'm going to be brave. Please, everyone, if you're with your dog, with your children watching TV, you will excuse me. I'm going to do this only once. Usually I do it more, so I'm not being totally rude. I'm going to unmute all. You're invited to mute yourselves. And if someone wants to talk, I really invite you to talk. If you're all unmuted at this point, you can remute yourselves, that's fine. But if someone wants to talk now, you have the capabilities. It's now or never. Okay, I'm giving it 1 more minute, and if not, I will release you all. And we've covered very important topics today. I want to kind of summarize that the Ex Libris resource sharing directory, important to promote, create more networks with your ALMA friends. I'm here to facilitate if needed. The data sharing profile that will come on May, have this clear in your minds. This is going to be an important phase for one of our planned developments. And of course, the April release and all that it has. And that's, I think that is all from me for today. So thank you all for attending, and I will place the recording. Sorry for starting late. I will place the recording on for demand in case you want to see it later. Thank you all.